Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on The Weekend Show. In Nigeria, we've got three arms of government, which is the executive, the legislative arm, and the judiciary. They have different roles to play, but principle of which is to act as watchdogs to the other arms, and this is what we call separation of powers. Now, most people understand the little they know based on what they see and hear about the National Assembly. But there are more intricacies than we know. And what we aim to do on this show is to express and enlighten the average Nigerian on topics affecting Nigerians from the stakeholders and our leaders in a way where they understand it better. Today, we'll be having a conversation about the National Assembly and its reforms and other activities. And joining us,
We have Yusuf Abubakar Yusuf, who was the senator at Taraba Central District from 2015 to 2023. Good morning and welcome back to the show.
Thank you very
And
much.
we also have joining us via Zoom Senator Abba Moro, who is the Senate Minority Leader and the senator representing Benue South Senatorial District. Good morning, sir.
good morning and
Good
welcome.
Thanks
morning.
for
Happy to
joining
have
us.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Since we have Senator Abba Moro online, I think I'll start with him. Honorable Senator, good morning. He is actually the senator representing my constituency in Benue
Oh,
State.
okay.
So it's a pleasure to have you, Senator Abba Moro. My name is Andy Madaki, and welcome to the show, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator, you have been very active in government over the years, from your time in Algon and as the head of Algon National to being a minister and now in the National Assembly as the Senate Minority Leader. How has this experience been for you so far, and how would you rate the performance of the current Senate?
Well, it's a wonderful mix, and I thank God for everything that I have been and perhaps continue to be. I hope sincerely that I will continue to be in God's plans, and wherever He leads me, I go. So far, I think that the 10th Senate has been on course, and when we started, we had this slogan of operating a Senate that works for all Nigerians, and that the 10th Senate certainly will be an improvement on the 9th Senate. And so far, we, apart from a few challenges here and there, the Senate has been able to continue to do what best it can to ensure that Nigerians benefit from our participation in governance. And so you want to recall, for instance, that this Senate uh, adheres to the principle of our fiscal year from January to December, given the experiences that we have had concerning the delayed implementation of budget. If we had adhered to the old system where budgets are passed in June, and then before you know it, December had come. And so definitely that is an improvement. And several other bills that have some impact on the Nigerian society have been passed. And so far, so good. The usual rancor that you find between the executive and the legislature that kind of negatively impacts on the functioning of the system is no longer there. And several bills also that we have passed, establishment of medical centers, establishment of institutions, and of course, policies that are aimed at improving the lot of the Nigerian people have been embedded in the bills that we have passed so far. And we hope that we will continue to improve. Don't forget that in recent times, the Senate has also passed bills in concurrence with the House of Representatives to establish zonal development commissions, believing that if we divest the center of some of the burdens of governance by putting up these commissions that will take decisions that will address unique problems of the various zones, that it will help in the governance structure. And so, so far, so good. I think that the Senate has been on course, but I know too well that given the vagaries of the economy and the political situation that we have on ground, Nigerians expect more, and we will continue to improve on our standards towards meeting the aspirations and the expectations of the Nigerian people.
Okay, Senator, you've said so many amazing things that are ongoing or have happened in the Senate, but I would like to know, do you think there are any aspects that need to be improved in the way the Senate, runs in the National Assembly, improve its efficiency and in other ways as well?
Well, when you talk about governance and the process, it's always a work in progress. There is no doubt that there is room for improvement, no doubt about it. And we are representatives of the people, and we carry the mandate of the people, and we listen to the people. And as people uh, continue to agitate for a better Nigeria, we get input from these people, and then, of course, that impacts on the decisions that the Senate takes. Recently, for instance, there was this issue of tax bills, and some stakeholders, Nigerians, rose up to say, "Hey, some aspects of these tax bills are not in consonance with our expectations or aspirations." And of course, you recall that the presidency and the Senate listened to the Nigerian people, set up various committees, and of course conducted a public hearing to ensure that Nigerian people are carried along. And so these are some of the improvements that we think that can be made because we are representative people, and we listen to their agitations. And so as these agitations come, as these inputs come, as the wishes of the people come into representatives, they will impact on the whatever decisions that the Senate takes. And that's exactly what we will continue to do.
Okay. Honorable Senator, I recall how vocal you were about the tax reform bills, and I recall you saying people should stop making it about politics, basically, and focus on the
Yeah.
reforms which are needed. Well, as the Senate Minority Leader, we can't ignore the fact that while the National Assembly is a place for debate because you're representing different views, some senators over the last year um, from the minority parties and even some of the major parties have felt that their voices have been stifled. We've had cases from Senator Ireti Kingibe, we've had cases from Senator Natasha Akpoti. We've had Senator Ali Ndume, who I think was questioned for having differing opinions in the House. And while this current assembly has had a good relationship with the executive, we've also seen a lot of senators and House of Rep members, especially from minority parties, moving to the APC. Do you think that the voices of all the representatives and senators are being given equal fair hearing in the National Assembly to represent their people adequately, with some of these examples which have been stated? Okay, so while we wait for Senator, we have Senator Yusuf in the studio. Welcome to this show. You have vast experience in the National Assembly, and I think in 2015, we had a leadership of National Assembly that passed some of the most number of bills and which a lot of Nigerians applauded, and you were in the National Assembly all these years. The National Assembly we have right now, is that the National Assembly you knew and grew to love in your time as a senator?
Well, I hope you are not trying to cross me with my with my colleagues in the 10th Assembly. However, yes, in the 8th Assembly, we had it a little bit rough between National Assembly and the executive. And the reason was not because the whole of National Assembly was against the executive. It was the leadership of the National Assembly that was at loggerhead with the executive. So it wasn't like Senate versus this. In the 9th Assembly, we had it a very, very smooth relationship. And why do we have that? Because there was behind the scene of a lot of lobby, a lot of discussions, a lot of consultations. And one of them was, there was this loose committee, which not many Nigerians knew about it. Mr. President, then President Muhammad Buhari, the Vice President, then, Professor Sibanjo, the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, the Speaker, Bajabi Amila, the Chief of Staff, and who again? About, I think, 6 of them. They meet either monthly or every two months to see how they can synchronize all the difficulties or the challenges. But it was a loose committee. It wasn't a strategic, statutory committee, but it was made in such a way that let the executive and the National Assembly understand one another so that we can move smoothly. Now, in the 10th Assembly, I don't know if that committee still, exists, but I from my own point of view, it may look seemingly that there is a smooth relationship between the executive and the legislature. I think the relationship is not more of professional working relationship between the executive and the legislature. It was, okay, it's APC. So why should we in any way make it difficult for Mr. President? But I see a lot of issues that ought to have been discussed and then, more challenging, to the executive than what is happening today. I give you an example. With the removal of fuel subsidy, with the floating of the Naira, I have not seen a robust debate by the National Assembly on how Mr. President will just stand on his own and say the subsidy is gone without the National Assembly debating, because it has touched every fabric of the Nigerian society. So I thought, as a representative of the people, there should have been a very, very robust discussion, and then, involving all the constituencies, not just the 109 in the Senate, but also the 360 constituencies, to involve everybody in that. I will also look at the floating of the Naira. I have not seen, a robust debate on how come, even though our Naira is undervalued, the monetary policies still, devalue the currency. So I looked at this, and then some of the things that we left behind in the 9th Assembly, like ways and means. The 10th Assembly is quiet on it. We are talking about something nearly 30 trillion. We didn't have much time during our own time, to work on it. But I don't know what the 10th Assembly is doing, because 30 trillion is a big number for just the Senate and the and the House of Representatives to sit quietly on that without telling us, without having a very, very robust debate on that. So these 3 issues, also the 4th, the relationship between the fiscal side and the monetary side. And if you observe that one of the major problems that the monetary policy has is the fiscal side, that is not in tandem with the monetary side. There's a lot of indiscipline in the way, our fiscal issues are handled. For instance, you continue to have, a deficit budget. You continue to borrow. And then where does that take us to? For instance, even the recent increasing the national budget, the federal government budget from 49.7 to 54.9 or so as a result of increase in revenue. It does not make sense to me at all. And I don't think it will make sense to every, other Nigerians. We expected to see the National Assembly to stand and say, no, 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 no. Mr. President, just increase your revenue, you cannot increase your expenditure. What you will do is to reduce your deficit. We have not seen this robust debate in terms of taking up the executive. So we expect to see that. So, and maybe there's information that some of us do not have. So for me, the National Assembly of today or the Senate of today is not checkmating the executive. Also, on the area of oversight, I hardly hear about, except probably, Senator Adam Oshimole, who has been taking over the institutions in the Ministry of Internal Affairs seriously, but beside that, I hardly hear, the committees, taking the MDS, seriously on robust debate, like the way we were in the 8th Assembly, especially the 9th Assembly. Yeah. It was fireworks, if you could remember. So I have not seen that. So I think, from my own point of view, it's not just you go there, you make laws, or you go there. I don't know how many even, what do you call it, public hearings, have been done in so many bills that have passed through. So I don't know whether, they have amended the Red Book, especially the Senate, that, they are now doing this thing without much, involving, the public. I don't know about it. Maybe there are some new things that they have done which I'm not aware. When we are not part of a place, you might not be able to say much, except, if you are given, proper information. Yes, my senior colleague, Abba Moro, I think we were together in the 8th Assembly, we were together in the 9th Assembly. He knows exactly how we did in the 9th Assembly. He knows exactly. In fact, he's even in a better position, as a leader of opposition, because he's a minority leader. So I think, even the opposition need to sit up, and not to concur whatever, the majority might have been presented to them. So in my own little opinion, I think we need to see much very, very robust debates, especially on national issues. So even the tax we are talking about, yes, I think it has passed through, public hearings here and there, and it's most likely, it will pass. I am not sure many senators and many members House of Representatives have done town halls in their various constituencies, to get the understanding of the people they represent about this issue. We all know some of the challenges of the tax reform. There is no way the fundamental issue of inflation can be controlled. And if you cannot control inflation, it means that you are losing, your own, what do you call it, value, or the people are losing value of their lives. What I mean value is that, what you buy with 10 naira today, tomorrow you'll have to spend 100 naira to buy it. So I think, in my own opinion, they need to involve, engage, not just even their own constituencies. They need to do what we call, how do I call it here, cooperative and consultative federalism, because the subnational, governments need to be fully engaged and involved. I don't know how many times the National Assembly has met with the various speakers of houses of assembly in the country, to harmonize, to see how this is. So in my own little opinion, I think, there is a lot more need to be done, in terms of engaging the executive. I'm not saying that, the National Assembly should fight the executive. They are not voted to fight the executive. They are voted to complement and to do what is, what is right, for the country. So they need to engage the executive much more than what they are doing today.
Thank you, Senator. I think we have Senator Abba Moro back online. And Senator Abba Moro, if you can hear me now, before you went off, I was asking about the minority voices. We've seen in the National Assembly, especially in the House of Reps, a lot of people have cross-carpet. But I think we've lost him once again, so I'll just let you go on with your
Yes,
next
Senator
question.
Yusuf, you mentioned, you've been talking about, you've said a lot of things, first of all, and you particularly were talking about the executive. But I would like to know, what are your thoughts on the relationship between the Senate, not just the National Assembly as a whole, but particularly the Senate, with the general public? Because at the end of the day, they're public servants. They're voted in there to serve. So how would you assess their relationship with the people? Are they hearing us? Are they concerned? Are they empathetic? What are your thoughts?
Well, thank you very much. And it is a very difficult question. I'll tell you why. Even, the 8th Assembly, which I attended, the 9th Assembly, the general feelings, about the Senate specifically, they are not representing the people the way they should. They don't carry the people, or they don't have the feelings of the people the way they should. It has happened in the 8th Assembly, in the 9th Assembly, in the 10th Assembly. So just like what you say, yes, my own, I'm outside now, I discuss with a lot of people, so many, will say, well, why these things are not changing? You are not empathic to us then, you are not sympathetic to us then, you are not doing what we wanted you to do. We have voted you into power, you go there and do whatever you feel like doing. We thought, the 10th Assembly, will have an improvement in engaging the people. But I think, we have to begin to find a very, very good and definite relationship, between the Nigerian people and the Senate specifically. And the reason I think I can only speculate. The people feel that, the Senate, ought to have been, a very strong organ to checkmate the executive, and then, to oversight, the MDS. In this, we see a lot of what I call splurging, and splurging is in 2022 you buy computers, 2023 you buy computers, 2024 you buy. I'm just giving you one particular example. And that splurging is not just in government, it is also, as part of, us Nigerian people. For instance, how many wristwatches, does one have? Some maybe have 20, 30 wristwatches. You don't need them. So probably, in the public interest, there should be less splurging. The National Assembly should carry the people by looking into areas to reduce this splurging aspect of it. So I think they should gradually try to narrow the gap. A lot of public hearing is very, very good. They should increase it. I think I had the Senate President, saying he was directing, the National Assembly to provide a lot of, what do you call it, empowering, the senators who come newly, to educate them more, to provide, all these issues, So I think, we need to do a lot of that to improve our relationship. And then visiting homes is very, very important. I don't know whether the allowances that the senators get, maybe it's not enough. That is why I said, as a result of the, what do you call it, removal of subsidy, what do you call it, floating the naira, we now what we have we call money illusion. Because yes, money has increased in terms of quantum, but in terms of value, it's going to do less for a state government. So I think they need to engage, much more with their constituencies.
I agree with you, totally. Senator Abba Moro, if I hear he's back with us, we were speaking just before you left about the role of minority in the Senate. Do you think that voices of minority senators are given a fair hearing? Because from time to time we've heard the likes of Senator Ireti Kingibe, Senator even Ali Ndume, or Senator Natasha Akpoti, when they have voices which are not in line with certain things the majority party may side with, they come out and say they don't feel as minorities they are given fair hearing in the Senate. Do you think this is actually what's applicable in the current Senate?
Well, interestingly, you have mentioned persons that are not necessarily in the minority. Aline Dume, for instance, is of the majority party, the APC, and there is this dynamic in the Senate. The presiding officer, I know catch you. Once his eye doesn't catch you, he will not ask you to speak. And in line with our rules, you can't just wake up or stand up and begin to speak unless you are permitted by the presiding officer to speak. So far, it has been a mixed bag, and sometimes you don't have the opportunity to speak. Again, like I said, because it's the prerogative of the presiding officer to point who speaks and who doesn't speak. But generally, I think that those of my colleagues who are in the National Assembly do know that I don't think we have been unnecessarily stopped from contributing to matters that are on the table. Sometimes, even from the opposition, uh, individuals speak for like 1, 2, 3 times on a particular topic, which is unusual, you know. But that goes to demonstrate the level of democracy that plays out in the Senate. Um, we have our challenges, no doubt about it, because as minority and opposition, um, the space is not that large to express all opinions. And don't forget the type of politics that we play in Nigeria, highly partisan. And you begin to talk on particular issues or issues that concern uh, you and your constituency, and somebody says, no, 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 and then it becomes rancorous and you get drowned in the whole process. And I want to say this, that some of us, these issues that have been canvassed, some of us have repeatedly, even from the Ninth Senate, I insisted as a former minister that the envelope system that we operate is not good for the country, especially given infrastructural challenges and the rest of them. You don't operate the envelope system because it's the envelope system that keeps bringing out funds for particular items. Like I used to say in a debate of general principles on the budget, I one day called my permanent secretary and I said, hey, after 2, 3 years, I have been here. And every year you provide for computer, you provide for e-library. Every year, where are the computers? Where are the e-libraries and rest of them? And so I have advocated for a change in attitude, a change from the envelope budgeting system. It's not good. Look at the military, for instance, with the emergencies that arise all the time. And then you want to do envelope. Look at other areas that ordinarily, because of the deficits there, we say, look, let the federal government declare emergencies, and then you go the envelope system way. So it's not good for us. And we have been saying it, and we'll keep saying it until we change the arrangement. You are talking to me now. I'm right here in Otupo. My constituent, there is no week out or week in that I don't come to my people. And so when we get inputs from the people directly, not necessarily through town halls and the rest of them, you go and you lay open in the Senate, and it informs the decision that the Senate takes. So if that happens, definitely you don't need say town hall meetings all the time. There's no doubt that town hall meetings are necessary because it brings you face to face with your constituents, and then you discuss and you feel their pulse. Their body language speaks volumes, and so I agree that there is need for periodic town hall meetings and the rest of them. But quite frankly, given the circumstances that we find ourselves, given the challenges of partisanship, I think we're trying to do our best. But I insist that there is definitely room for improvement.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator. I would like to hear your thoughts because there have been concerns about, how Order 10 has influenced legislative proceedings and all of that. So what's its key implications, and should it be reformed in your own opinion?
Again, I didn't understand you.
I said that there have been lots of concerns, about how Order 10 influences legislative proceedings. And I would like to know, in your own opinion, what are its key implications, and should it be reformed?
Well, Order 10, as it is now in our rule, has no problem. The only thing that we have is perception. Order 10 deals with privileges of senators. And if you think that your privilege has been impinged upon, if it prevents you from airing your opinions, especially issues that affect the sensibilities of your constituency, I think nobody can stop you if you come.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Abba Moro, for giving your perspective about the minorities and speaking to Order 10. And the reason why this came up is because we've seen someone raise Order 10 and it led to the person being removed from the Senate. But we will leave that at the moment and come back to Senator in the studio. Two things I want to bring up during your time. There were three things which you were very vocal about. One was when you said that beneficiaries or family members of corrupt officials should also be prosecuted. Secondly was the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill, which I understand you opposed, and then the Electoral Act. It's good to hear from the lion's mouth, especially the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill. And you weren't the only person. It was a large conversation. Can you give Nigerians a better perspective? Because we weren't in the inner circle when these things were discussed.
Well, in fact, coincidentally, with, I just told you it's one of the challenging, time when I opposed that bill in the 8th Assembly.
Yes.
But, we sorted it out in the 9th Assembly. The problem is equality. I had problem with talking about equality, but if we talk about equity, I have no problem with that. So that is why in the 9th Assembly, we change it from equality to equity, because equity is fairness. When you say gender equality, in what way is a woman equal to a man? But in terms of fairness, yes, there will be, an equitable, gender relationship between a man and a woman. And if you talk about equal opportunities, because I think that was what was later,
Yes.
put in the 9th Assembly. Yes, opportunities, yes, everybody should be given, equal opportunities. But what I'm saying, that let us define that, what equal opportunity means. Is it equitable opportunity or equal opportunity?
So what really is the difference, Senator?
The difference is simple. One is fair, and the other one is not fair.
Why is it not fair?
Okay, equality, because if you say I am equal to so and so a person, considering so many factors, we are not equal. Even in education, even our performance in work, even all those, even the nature, the way we do our job, we are different. But when you talk about equity, that means it is according to our level of fairness, our level of understanding, our level of relating with each other. That's the difference between equality and equity. You know, I give a further example between Senate and House of Representatives. House of Representatives is equitable because it is based on what? Population. Senate is equality of states. You know, whether that state has 1 million people, Kano, Lagos have, you know, so many million of people, there are 3 senators. So now, whether 3 senators, you know, I'm going to use, you know, Bielsa, you know, 3 senators there, and then 3 senators in Kano, whether that equality is fair, that's why they say it's not fair. So let us bring in population to equalize, I mean, to make it equitable. So these are some of the issues why, you know, I raised. I could remember I had a strong debate with my former colleague. I call her Mama Ekiti. But in the end, you know, in the Ninth Assembly, we sat down, we looked at it, we did a lot of consultation from Christians' point of view, Muslim point of view, clergies, and what have you, and, you know, NGOs and so many. In the final analysis, you know, we are able to
work around it.
Yes.
I want to ask you, so do you think fundamental human rights for every Nigerian is under equality or equity?
Me, my understanding, fundamental human rights under equity.
Okay, just because of time, let's talk about prosecuting beneficiaries and family members of corrupt officials.
Yeah.
Why did you have that take on it?
Okay. I could remember what the president, then President Muhammad Buhari said. If you do not kill corruption, corruption will kill you. And I don't want corruption to kill Nigeria. And we are in it now. But if most people probably, I say probably, you know, find themselves in a situation of acquiring so much wealth, probably, you know, is to fend well for their families. And therefore, why wouldn't the family also bear the brunt? So if I acquire so much wealth, you know, and it is only me, you know, that is charged to court, supposing, you know, that wealth is being enjoyed, you know, by my family. Whatever, how much recovery you have done, there must be some remnants that will remain with the family, you know, probably our wives, our children, you know. We have seen how many people who died, what their children do with the stupendous wealth they have left behind. Some people, you know, what do you call it? Play with vehicles here, they knock against one another, they damage the
Some
vehicles.
get into the Senate and House of Reps
You know,
with
so
proceeds of corruption.
Yes, so with that proceeds too. Some, you know, I mean, so equity demands that not just the corrupt man, also the beneficiaries of the corrupt, you know, of the corruption should also be bear the brunt. So that is just, you know, both the corrupt person and then the beneficiary should also bear the brunt.
Thank you very much, Senator. Because of time, we'll have to end here. Senator Yusuf, Abubakar Yusuf, former Senator representing Taraba Central in the National Assembly. It's a pleasure having you, and we do hope to have you on some more on the show. And also, thanks to the Senate Minority Leader, Senator Abba Moro, for joining us. That's much we can take on the political segment. When we return, more on The Weekend Show.